Hey guys, welcome to Mintac. I'm going to do a series of videos in regard to painting ARs with Duracoat, and you probably saw, or if you have not, look back to my 9mm PCC build. I laid down a blue cryptic color, and so this is going to be a series of videos on Duracoat, doing my 22 nosler, which I just sprayed down with some brake cleaner. And you want to get the non-chlorinated brake cleaner, just to make sure that it's not so toxic to the finish and toxic to some of the parts. It helps the paint adhere a lot better. So get non-chlorinated. You can go to like O'Reilly's or a parts store or whatever, and get brake cleaner. And so what I'm going to do today is my first initial steps are going to be to spray brake cleaner just to get the initial grease and the initial grime off the guns. I've got two of them that I'm doing. Be careful. It's going to be the 22 nosler. Some things that you might want to think about. I had a rubber butt plate, took that off. Took off my grip because I didn't want that painted. You can still see that I have some grease left in there, so we're going to do some sanding, but the first thing to do is we're going to do, like I said before, cleaning with the brake cleaner. Left my trigger, left my mag pull bad lever. I took the scope off, mounting plate. I took my bipod off and pretty much covered up my barrel and gas tube and muzzle brake. And so everything that I want painted is exposed. And again, this is going to be done in a cryptic camo. And so I'm excited to see what color, how that color is going to turn out. Secondary, this is my 223 Wylde pistol build. This is going to go back on. I can switch back and forth from my 9mm PCC to 223 Wylde, and so I am going to spray and clean this baby off and sand that down and get that ready for camo as well. So I'm going to keep a little foregrip on there, so it's going to be the same color. And so again, I took those things off I did not want painted. I actually sealed up the inside of this upper, and then covered the barrel and muzzle brake, gas tube, blah blah blah. So make sure you cover those things off, tape them off, if you do not want them painted. So this is almost ready to go, as well as the other one. And so last thing I'll be painting, this goes with the 22 nosler. It is a red and blue color right now. It is also going to be that cryptic color, and I will probably tape it off from this point forward, and the rest will be painted, because this part you don't see, it doesn't matter, and so that will be camo. So let's get moving. I'm going to show you just some simple steps for cleaning these off, doing the simple cleaning first. So stay tuned. So here is the brake parts cleaner that I use. It's kind of a little reflective there, non-chlorinated from O'Reilly's, and simply you're just going to spray everything down. You should have some safety glasses on. I'm spraying away from me, but it is good to have glasses on so that you don't get this stuff in your eye, because it does sting. Ask me how I know. And then you're simply just taking, you can use a clean rag, non-lint or a lint-free clean rag. Right now I'm just using paper towels, and I'm just cleaning everything where I know there's going to be a little bit of oil, grease, and smudge. Good thing about brake cleaner also is that it does a good job of loosening any paint from previous paint jobs. And once you're done with that, you can actually take some compressed air and spray those off. But simply, that's just my first pass at this. And then what I'll do is I'll take some sandpaper and start sanding all these down so that I get a good bite for the Duracoat. And then lastly, I'll do a finishing spray with the brake cleaner. So just to make doubly sure that I have all the grease and all the grime off the uppers. Alright, so there are several methods that you can use to be able to abrade your uppers or your full rifle. You can use sandpaper. I'm going to use 120, but and you can use different grains, but I'd suggest that you use like between 80 and 120. And then you could use a sanding block. This is a number 80 sanding block. Or you can also use steel wool to be able to scuff these up. So you don't need a huge amount of abrading done in order for the Duracoat to stick. You don't want like huge lines in your uppers from the sanding. You just want to make sure that it's scuffed up enough that the Duracoat will adhere to your upper or lower receiver. So pretty simple. Sandpaper, steel wool, or you could use a sanding block. I'll probably use a sanding block on most of the flat surfaces, and then to get into the grooves a little bit more, I'll be using the sandpaper. So let's get to it. Sanding block's working pretty well, especially with these flatter areas. Say if you're trying to abrade it, let me see if I can show you sort of what it's looking like. I mean, I'm getting down to some of the finish, which is just fine. That means that that Duracoat is really going to stick pretty well within within the pores of that paint, pores of that metal. And just kind of hit it all around. Get it nice and try to hit every spot. So that's pretty good for the cam guard. I don't think I need to do anything else. You can see that the old paint is kind of coming off of on my sanding block. I'm going to try to get in the grooves, and then I'll start using I'll probably hit that stock too. It's plastic, but I just want to make sure that I got a good scuff on it to take any sort of gloss or gleam from that away. I'm also going to hit the lower receiver just ever so slightly. I don't need to go crazy with it. I'm going to hit my mag pull. Yeah, I'll take that 120 in the smaller areas. I'm able to get that, but you can kind of see where I'm scuffing it up. You can see also where it needs to be hit a little bit more, like right in here. But that's essentially what you're doing. I'm going to hit my mag pull bad lever, or actually trigger guard, excuse me. You can see you don't need to go crazy. Just making sure that everything is hit pretty good with that scuff pad or sanding block or sandpaper or steel wool. So I'm not going to bore you anymore, but basically this is what it's looking like. And you're just going to continue to hit the rest of the gun until it's all scuffed up, and then I'm going to take some compressed air, spray that off, and then I'll finally give it a last hit with the brake cleaner just to make sure that all the gunk is gone. Alright, got my air hose.
What?
I braided that. If you're going to spray things off, you can see some of the dust coming out of there. That's abraded pretty good. I'll take that off and then get that all cleaned up. And you just take the air hose, see how much stuff comes off of here. Get inside the belt groove. Good. Now it's time for the 223 Wylde upper, and I'm going to start sanding that away. Again, sanding block, as much as I can get in there. I think that color that was on here was the cast iron, which is a really nice color. But I don't have a separate lower for this one, and so I want it to match the lower of the 9mm PCC. So yeah, so let's continue to do that same job. I mean, it's pretty simple. So I'll sand these up, and then I'll hit them with one more spray of the brake cleaner, and then we will get primed for base coat and paint. So that'll probably happen next week or the week after. So stay tuned, guys. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Subscribe if you have not. Follow this series. It's, again, the 22 nosler is the main one that I'm doing. And I just want to put a shout out also to Castle Tactical, who provided the vinyl stencils for the cryptic job. He's no longer on on Etsy, so make sure that you follow him or check him out on eBay. I'll try to find his site. I'll link it here. Actually, I'm going to put his information at the beginning of this video. So check him out. All kinds of different patterns. Castle Tactical on eBay. Alright guys, questions, comments, leave them below. Subscribe. I forgot to mention, the last thing that you want to make sure is that you get, after you spray these the last time, make sure that you have some powder-free gloves in order to handle them, because you don't want to get your greasy fingerprints on them, because that will deter the Duracoat from binding actually to the product. So make sure you have rubber gloves that are non-powdered. That powder will get into your paint, and you'll have a grainy type look to it. And so make sure they're powderless gloves, but otherwise make sure you're handling it. I tape my barrel out up so I can at least grab the barrel if I need to grab it right now. But powderless gloves, and make sure that you're not getting your grease on the product. Otherwise it'll be, you know, your paint job has a chance of not adhering. So just that final hint for if you decide to do this. Like I said, next up is paint.